As I mentioned a moment ago, the neo-Kantian philosopher Kojin called Kant the true originator of German socialism. In this light, the true originator of French socialism must be Proudhon, because unlike other socialists in France, he was the first socialist who considered it imperative to abolish both state and capitalism. According to Proudhon, the French Revolution overthrew the absolute monarchy, but the sovereign state remained intact, where people are ostensibly sovereign, but are actually subject to the state. What is more, in civil societies, people are subject to the sovereignty of money, namely capitalism. In order to realize true democracy, it is crucial to abolish the state and capitalism. Compared with Proudhon, most socialists, such as Saint-Simon and Louis Blanc, were more or less heirs to Jacobin tradition of the French Revolution. They positively regarded the state as neutral and public. By contrast, Proudhon objected to this sort of political revolution, which he believed would only strengthen the state and destroy freedom, even if it would realize economic equality. He proposed economic revolution instead. Proudhon presented various plans for the alternative economy, which he thought would replace capitalism. One example is the producers' cooperatives. Here, each member is simultaneous labor and management. So wage labor or labor commodity is thereby superseded. Other examples are alternative money and credit unions, which are attempts to abolish the sovereignty of money. Compared with Proudhon, virtually all other socialists, including social democrats, are more or less statist. In this regard, Marx was strongly influenced by Proudhon. Throughout his life, he maintained Proudhon's vision of socialism as free association that would take the place of the state. It is true, however, that from around 1847, Marx began to criticize Proudhon's economic revolution. He thought that a political revolution was pivotal. An alternative economy such as Proudhon's would be impossible without seizing state power. For example, Marx thought that producers' cooperatives would be unable to compete with capitalist enterprises. Marx criticized Proudhon for his lack of understanding of the capitalist economy. That is one reason why Marx went on to write Capital. Nonetheless, this did not lead Marx to abandon Proudhon's associationism. In fact, while writing Capital and all the way through the First International, Marx continues to collaborate with Proudhonists. For instance, Bakunin condemned Marx for being a statist on the ground that the state socialist Lassalle called himself Marx's disciple. But in fact, Marx was opposed to Lassalle's state socialism as represented in the Gotha program in 1876, which proposed to foster producers' cooperatives with state support. Lassalle's perspective basically represents a Hegelian consecration of the state as reason, whereas Marx expected the state to disappear after the rise of associationism. Therefore, it is totally wrong to regard Marx as a statist. But then, how is it possible to draw extreme statism, Stalinism, from his idea? It is not because Marx was a statist, but because he was an anarchist who believed that economic revolution would dissolve the state before long. The view of the state seen in Proudhon and Marx, or their predecessor Spinoza, is based upon the historical experiences of the city, the commune in Europe. Commune or commune is a community which was created as an association of individuals through mutual contract. However, the absolute monarchy, while liberating these cities, communes from feudal regulations, also took away their autonomy and made them subject to the state and capitalism. Thus, it appears that if the state and capital were abolished, civil society, equal commune or communism could be restored. However, there is no understanding the state from within a single country. For the state exists in relation to other states. The same is true about superseding the state. For example, if a revolution is successfully carried out in one nation, there remain other states that will intervene against it. That happens in the Paris Commune, which was destroyed in 2 months by the Germans. It was also the case with the Russian Revolution, where the revolutionary government has to defend itself by ultimately making itself a powerful state. Hence, it inexorably led to one-state socialism or Stalinism. Marx did not take this possibility of one-state socialism into account because he never expected socialism to be possible in a single nation. He did not think of revolution except as simultaneous and multinational. Marx was right. But is this really plausible? Marx, since Lenin and Trotsky, has to face this problem. I came to realize that the reason that Marxism turned to statism was not because Marx was a state socialist, but rather because, like Proudhon, he was an anarchist who believed that the state would dissolve before long. Thus, no matter how passionately we criticize statism, it does not keep us from falling into the trap of statism. What is necessary is recognition that the state consists in the monopoly of violence and also that it exists against other states.